Greetings, mathematicians. Today we're going to do our third day of practicing. I can convert between mixed numbers and improper fractions. So today we're going to review the two ways we've done so far. Again, there's more than one way we can give any value a name. Just like you might have a nickname, someone might call you Honey or Pookie or Sis or Bro, but those would be nicknames that still describe you. We have nicknames that we can use to describe numbers as well. One way we can name a number is by calling it in its proper fraction form. And remember, that's a fraction with a numerator that is smaller than the denominator. So these would all be examples of a proper fraction because the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Another way we can name a fraction is by calling it a mixed number. That's a fraction with a whole number and a fraction. So these are the ones we usually like the most because it's easiest to imagine in our head. 2 whole and 1/2. Okay, so again, if we pictured it as an image, it might look like that. We can also convert between those two. We can change the value from one form to another. Again, the value is going to stay the same. We're just changing the form. Oops. So again, that means I could change between a proper or an improper fraction and a mixed number, or a decimal and a mixed number. All those would be different ways that we could use to name a fraction. So if we go back to the first day we talked about these two, it says write each value as an improper fraction, a mixed number, and a decimal. Our improper fraction, our first job is to always figure out what am I counting by, what unit fraction? Well, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. I have 3 pieces in each whole, so I'm counting by thirds. So my denominator is going to be thirds. I've got 1, 2, 3 thirds in this one. I've got 1, 2 more in here. 3 thirds plus 2 thirds would give me 5 thirds. As a mixed number, now I'm going to look at it. I have 1 whole. 3 thirds together I can turn into a whole, and then I still have 2 thirds left. And then as a decimal I still have 1 whole, but now I have 2 1/3s. I always think about money, money, money when I think decimal, so I'm going to think sharing a dollar with 3 people. We're each going to get 33 repeating cents, but I have 2 of them, 2 1/3s, so I'm going to have 0.66 repeating. Okay, so those would be the 3 ways I could write this value. So now, sometimes you'll find just you get the improper fraction, and we have to change it into a mixed number. When I think of 44 1/10 pieces, that is really hard to imagine. So I want to pull out all the 10/10ths I can to get rid of all the whole numbers. So I could think about taking out all the 10/10ths. So if I take out 10/10ths, now I'm down to 34/10ths. I could take out another 10/10ths. So now I'm taking out 20/10ths. I'm still at 24/10ths. I have enough to take out another whole, another 10/10ths. I'm at 10, 20, 30/10ths. I can take out another whole. So I'm going to keep this one another 10/10ths. So now I've got 10/10ths, 20/10ths, 30/10ths, 40/10ths, but I still have 4/10ths left over. It's not enough to make another whole. So I'm going to add up all my wholes. 1, 2, 3, 4 wholes, and I still have those extra 4/10ths left. So that's how I write that one. There's also a shortcut way I can use to write them. Again, I want to always start by looking at my denominator. I know that I'm counting by 1/4 pieces. So I'd have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, 9/4. So if I listed all those out, I want to group them in groups of 4/4 for 1. So I'm going to count by 4s. 4, 8. That would give me 2 wholes. And then I would need 1 more 4th. So 9/4 would be the same as 2 1/4. So the first thing I'm going to do over here is I'm going to look at my denominator, 3. So I want to know how many 1/3s, or I've got 25 1/3s in this number. I want to group my 1/3s into groups of 3 to make whole numbers. So I want to count by 3s to get to 25 to see how many wholes I can get. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27 is too much, so I have to stop at 24. 3 times 8 is going to be 24, so I'm going to have 8 wholes, but I need to get to 25. I'm at 24 now, so I need 1 more 1/3 1/3 more. 8 1/3. Okay, I'm going to try this one. Now I've got 27 1/4, but I want to group them into groups of 4. So I'm going to count by 4s until I get as close to 27 as I can without going over. 4, 8, 12, 6, right, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28 is too much, so I need to stop at 6. 6 times 4 is 24, but I have 27, so I need to count up 24, 25, 26, 27. I have 3 more 1/4 left over after I take out the 6 whole. Okay, next one. Now my denominator is a 5, so I'm going to try to make groups of 5/5 because that's going to be the same as 1 whole. So I'm going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20 is too much, so I can only get in 3 wholes. 15 fifths would be 3 wholes, but I need to get to 18. 15, 16, 17, 18. 3 more fifths. Okay, so look at all those examples. And that strategy for figuring out, we're going to count by the denominator until we get as close as we can without going over to the numerator. And then any numbers that are left over, any fractions left over, we're going to write them next to our whole number. So now we're going to change our mixed number into an improper fraction. So I'm going to break apart all those wholes. So I'm going to take and break to 1 whole plus another whole plus another whole. Okay, so I'm going to say 1 whole plus another whole, 2, 3. I have 3 wholes then, and then I have to still include that 1/2 from over here. Now I want to change my wholes into a denominator of 2 because then I can add them together easily. So each whole would be the same as 2 halves. So 2 halves, another 2 halves would give me 4 halves, another 2 halves would give me 6. 2, 4, 6 halves plus that 1 extra half is going to give me 7 halves. Okay, so look at that. See how I broke it apart into the 3 ones? Then I broke each one down into 2 halves because then I could count 2, 4, 6, 1 more, 7. Okay, we're going to skip over this one. So now we're going to use the shortcut, the same idea. I'm counting by fifths. I have 1 whole and 4/5 more. Well, 5, I'm going to multiply it by my whole number because 5/5, this is really the same as 5/5, remember, because it's 1 whole. So 5 times 5 is going to give me 25. Now this is going to be my extra, 26, 27, 28, 29. 29 fifths. Okay, now I'm going to move over here. 2 1/3. Well, if I'm talking about thirds, each whole is going to be 3/3, but I have 2 of them. So 3 times 2 is going to give me 6. Then I have this 1 extra 1/3, so I'm going to have 7 thirds. Okay, so look at those. Remember, these are just 2 different ways to say the exact same value. Okay, our last 2 examples. Now I've got 3 wholes and 4/5. So I'm going to say, I'm going to take these 3 and I want to make them each into 5/5. So I'm going to count 3 times 5, 5, 10, 15. That would give me 3, but I have these extra 4/5, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fifths. Oops, I did that wrong. All right, this got kind of mixed up, so I'm going to move my numbers back. So let's try this one. I've got 3 whole and 4/5 more. Well, I need to change my 3 whole into fifths. So 5 times 3 is 15 fifths plus 4 more, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 fifths would be equivalent to 3 4/5. Over here, 5 1/8. Well, I got to change my 5 into eighths. Well, each eighth is going to have 8 in it, so we're going to go 8 times 5, which is 40, plus that 1 more is going to give me 41 eighths. So 41 little eighth pieces would be the same as 5 1/8. So look at these examples. Look at the strategy that we used and see if you can use that strategy today as you do the assignment. So if we look back at our learning target, I can convert between mixed numbers and improper fractions. Hopefully you're feeling like you're at a 4 or a 5. If not, be sure you ask your teacher for some help next time you're in class, because we've done this for 3 days now, so you want to make sure that you're at that 4 or 5. Otherwise, make sure that during win time or sometime you ask for some clarification. Okay, then you're going to complete task cards for your first assignment today in Google Classroom. So you want to do the task cards first. Be sure that you answer all the questions. And remember, when you're entering in fractional amounts, you want to put the whole value like 1, and then you want a space. And then if you want 1/2, you're going to do 1/2. So 1 space 1/2 so that we can see your answers when you write them in and we can tell there's a space between the whole number and the fraction. There will also be a Kahoot that will be assigned for today. So make sure that if you have time, you play that. But it's most important that you do the task cards first. And then if you have time, do the Kahoot next. Good luck, and we will see you next week.